Welcome to The Tea with Martha, where we spill the tea on the untold truths and real struggles of entrepreneurship. I'm Martha Pachow, a fellow business owner who's learned the ins and outs of business the hard way. Get ready for unfiltered discussions on the highs, lows, and messy realities of entrepreneurship. It's time to spill the tea and vent it out with us. I am so glad that you're here. Patti, thank you for coming and thank you for sharing your heart out, because I know you will. Patti and I are friends. We met at a mastermind and then her and her husband are stuck with us.
Forever.
But yeah, so Patti is a friend. She is an amazing entrepreneur. She has many talents. She is just a gem of a person. So without further ado, tell us a little bit about you, Dr. Patti.
Oh, Martha, thank you so much. It's an honor and a privilege to be here and to watch you grow and evolve into this. And I remember probably a year and a half ago, I hosted you on my podcast. So to be here now is just an absolute blessing. So thank you.
The blessing is mine, but thank you. I receive it.
Yeah. So what do you want to know?
Tell me a little bit of kind of where. Let's talk about your previous life. You are a chiropractor by trade.
Yes.
And so you built that business. And because the Tea with Martha is all about spilling the tea on our business, either scaling it or exiting it. And tell us about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was in practice for 16 years and never thought that I would retire from chiropractic. I remember saying when I was in school and even early in practice that I would be in my 90s and still adjusting. Well, I'm not quite there yet.
Long way to go.
Long way to go. But I just found I was actually in process of scaling my business and growing it. I had actually connected with a couple of other women and really expanded my practice to include, basically I became a landlord. I had an office space that was 3,000 square feet. I had 6 different rooms to rent out plus my chiropractic practice. So as I was building that, I realized a year in, I was like, I don't want to be a landlord. I miss actually adjusting people. I had an associate doctor. I had 3 on my team and it had grown and we were making multiple 6 figures and it was phenomenal. And I was like, but this isn't really what I want to be doing. And so as the world would have it, things shut down. And just before all of that happened, actually, God had a really amazing plan for me. I actually negotiated out of my lease in that 3,000 square feet because the HVAC unit wasn't working right and moved my practice into 2 small rooms. And then the world happened and things shut down.
Something about intuition, huh?
It was really crazy, really, really crazy because I had been working on negotiating out of my lease for months.
Wow.
For months. I had lawyers involved. There was all kinds of, it was a place I didn't really want to be, but it was also where I absolutely needed to be. And so as I navigated my practice being then shut down by the government for 6 weeks and really getting some time at home, I started to evaluate what is it that I really want as I just had expanded my business and now it was being contracted. And I started to realize I want more time with my family. I want more time with clients. And I recognized when clients would come in, it would be like picking up the conversation from the week prior. Because I had patients that were with me for 6, 8, 10 years. They came weekly for that long. And so we had built relationship. It was more than just them coming for an adjustment. We had created friendship. We had created community. And I knew them. They knew me. And so we would start the conversation where it left off and it was more coaching. And so I started to recognize, wait a minute, that I'm coaching and adjusting. And as I saw God really contract my practice, it wasn't a bad thing. I mean, I was still financially really doing well, but I was also like, but I don't want this anymore. I want to be able to sit knee to knee with someone and really dig deeper into what was going on because I only had about 10 minutes-ish with a patient when I was adjusting them. And that once a week wasn't enough. They wanted more. And so the kicker was one night when my daughter asked, hey, Mom, are you going to the office tomorrow? And I looked at her, I'm like, yeah, I'll be back for bedtime. And she just kind of looked at me and went, oh. And my heart just went, okay, it's time. It's time. And interestingly enough, when we talk about exiting, I never thought I would be exiting my practice at that point in time. And so I didn't really have a plan in place, but I knew there was a doc in the area that we had talked about potentially like co-working together, like bringing our practices together, but keeping them separate. So I just randomly reached out to her via text and I was like, hey, I'm thinking about selling my practice. Are you interested? And she was like, absolutely. And within 2 months, we had a contract and I was out of my practice.
Wow. Wow.
It was pretty mind blowing. And I was able to then begin in the couple of months first out of practice, really navigating what do I want? How do I want to dig deeper in? Who do I want to serve? And then that pivoted into moms who own businesses because that was me and I learned to navigate the juggle. And now it's morphed again, which I love. I love being able to shift and change and continue to follow, honestly, God's guidance.
Yeah.
And really.
Isn't it okay? Right?
For sure.
Yes. I'm kind of going through that with you, sister.
I know
so
you are.
It.
I know. That's
You're
why we're here.
Hero.
I've learned to lean into the really uncomfortable pieces and surrender. I know that's a big word. It was my word for last year. It's actually tattooed on my arm.
That's my word for this year.
Right? I know. And just learning to surrender and that free fall that we have to do sometimes is so very scary. And at the same time, for me, it's been really empowering because I am such a go-getter. I am such a I'm a driver. I'm going to make this happen. I'll figure it out. And God's like, but hold on, I've got you. And so that free fall has been, while very, very uncomfortable, also one of the most beautiful opportunities for me to really see what I'm capable of.
Yes, so powerful. I love that. It is an amazing how there's something to be said about when God places something in our heart and this intuition, and sometimes we suppress that. We think, we look at what is actually happening in our point of view, right? We see what's there and we think, no, I think we second guess our intuition. We second guess that tug and that pulling. And I think we do ourselves a disservice. We do a disservice to those we love and those around us when we suppress this. And I'm learning recently really just to lean into that, even though what I see doesn't make sense, right? Because that's the power of intuition is it's like there's a feeling, but our mind starts trying to make sense of it, and it doesn't make sense.
For sure.
And isn't it crazy? I mean, your story is so beautiful. And I, just because I know you, I've known you for a couple years now, and seeing that unfold is so powerful. And you've blessed my life with that, and thinking, wow, this is why I love this, having a podcast, because we can showcase stories. Because when we see people doing things that we want to do, it gives us permission to try it. Like, okay, if she did it, if she's somebody in my life, she's somebody in my circle. So if she did it, I'm sure I could do, in my own way, in my own flavor, in my own calling, because we have different callings, but God calls us all to do something, and he puts gifts in us, and your gifts are far different than my gifts, but isn't it beautiful we get to use them?
Amen. Absolutely. And
so cool.
Watching you navigate, since I've met you, I remember meeting you for that very first time in the house in Austin, and you're just like, I'm like here, I'm so overwhelmed, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what does she do? I need to know this woman. And we immediately made that connection, but also watching you shift and transform and grow, like you're scaling the crap out of your business right now, and potentially creating an exit for yourself at the same time. Like, how cool is that?
Yeah.
How cool is that? I'm
working on a physical exit, like myself, right? And I've built such an amazing team, because my heart is still in the things that we do and serving children. And I don't know what that will look like in the future, but I do know that, I still have my foot in the door. I still have my finger on the pulse there, and I'm still the driver. But I also know that I'm entering a different season in my life, because my kids are grown, and and it's okay. It's okay. We were just having this conversation with another friend, and she was talking about she was being a stay-at-home mom, but really wanted more, and how she had to deal with this. I need to let go of the guilt because I want to do something. And she figured out a business where she could do both. And it's okay. She gave herself permission to, it's okay that I'm not that label anymore. I'm not a stay-at-home mom. And in my case, it's opposite, right? Of it's okay if I'm not this big high-powered CEO for my company, even though I am, but it's just going to look different, right? It's like it's evolving that identity and giving ourselves permission to change. And that's the beauty of life. We get to change.
Yeah.
There's seasons in life. There's seasons in our, we're in winter now, but spring is coming, and then the good old Arizona summer.
Ooh, can't wait. That's when we travel.
That's when we leave. But tell the listeners about your beautiful family and where you guys are now, and kind of what's going on in your world, and where do you see yourself, in that next, or what are you experiencing currently in that challenge phase of building something new?
Absolutely. So I have an incredible husband who is a designer, and I am watching him blossom and grow and lean into his talents. 2 years ago, he launched a tile line. He's about to launch a furniture line, and I'm just watching the difference of how he's doing it from the first time to this time, and like who he's become in the process. And it's like, I'm just impressed with how his brain works. I'm like, how'd you even create that? Because my brain doesn't work like that. He does all the decorating and design in the house. If I put a plant somewhere, he's like, no, that's not quite right. And it's okay. That's his gifting, not mine.
Yes.
And we have an incredible 9-year-old little girl who we are just watching blossom in so many ways, and hormones are a thing now, and this mama heart's not quite ready for that. Buying sports bras for the first time for a little one, I was like, wait, what?
Oh my gosh, we're here now?
Okay, wait, but you were just a little nugget that laid on my chest. And I remember,
she's so sweet.
Moments after she was born, like holding her in my arms and looking at her, because I thought she was a boy the whole time. She was in my belly. We didn't know. And I just remember looking at her going, I don't really know what I'm doing, but I promise you, I will do my best every step of the way. And that's still true today. Like, as we're navigating like rolling of eyes and hormones and like outbursts, and I'm like, wait, this was supposed to be when you're a teenager. But I guess we're starting early. We're advanced in our household. And that has really allowed me in my own business, because now somehow I'm running 2 businesses and it's a juggle, but I've kind of been through the challenge of running the practice and then having her in the practice, and seeing how she kind of grew up and then was asking me like, hey, Mom, be home more. So I have very clear boundaries with myself with work and family, in that when I drop her off at school, that's my work time. And then when it's time to pick her up from school, that's my mom time. And is it always perfect and cut and dry like that? No. Are there sometimes meetings or appointments or calls or something that has to happen in the afternoon or evening? Sure. But there's also a very clear picture in my mind of how I want to show up for her, so that I could be a good model of what's possible for her in her future.
Yes.
And helping her lean into her gifts, and even just starting to discover those. She said for the last almost year now that she wants to be a fashion designer. So we're leaning into that. And awesome. When she wants to get dressed, she's like, no, Mom, that doesn't go. And I'm like, you're right. You're the fashion designer. And so giving her some autonomy in that. It's been really amazing to see how my own journey can be reflected in hers, and how I can really powerful. Lead as a mom and as a woman, and help her see what's possible for her. Mm-hmm. Give her that kind of blank slate and say, you know what, you can do what you choose. What is it that you choose?
Right. That's amazing and so beautiful. And you guys have such a beautiful family. We get the privilege to hang out with you guys and, barbecue and make tamales during Christmas time. And I just have loved seeing you guys evolve from when we met you to when you guys moved out here. And it's just a beautiful picture to see. Can you share a little bit about maybe what you're doing now and your plans for the future and maybe where you're stuck? Because we really want to talk about that, right? What are the things that we are struggling with? Because we all have struggles. And I think for the listener, sometimes there's so much hoorah, yay, go make millions of dollars. You can do it.
Right.
But I think if we take a moment to really just hear really the behind the scenes of when we're building something or trying something new, it could really be a lifeline for someone. So
Absolutely.
yeah, sure.
Yeah. So I started out coaching moms who own businesses and really helping them find that balance. Like I used to call it the juggle struggle. While that is absolutely still true, there's also another component to that I think God really impressed upon me. There's the body, like the physical aspects. Where is the health concerned? So I've really shifted more into doing health concierge work. And I labeled it that because for a little while I was saying health coach. And I'm like, but it's so much more than a health coach, because in that health concierge piece, it's not just the physical, but it's the emotional, it's the spiritual. And so really trying to bring all of those pieces in and helping someone understand how maybe their emotional patterning has got them stuck in loops where they're trying to make decisions in their business or their relationships at home. And it's just, they find themselves stuck, and getting them out of those loops. Or maybe it's the physical health. Their hormones are out of whack. Their cortisol levels, from experience, are skyrocketed.
I know a little bit of that.
Can't imagine as a hardworking woman. But I find so many women then when the cortisol is messed up, then their hormones, and there's this like spider web, then the thyroid. So working through those pieces in the physical health is really important. And then randomly, I started to go down the rabbit hole of parasite cleansing. And that has been a huge piece of where I'm really starting to help people right now. And that's someplace I never thought I would go. But it's really, it's part of it. It's really part of it, because honestly, parasites are a physical and emotional and spiritual connection to all of it. So that's one business. That's Innate Roots. The other business is Tight Club, which is the aesthetic piece, which is hormone-informed body sculpting holistically. And so I was like, well, God, why am I bringing this in? Like, I get this business model, but how? But it's again connected, because when our internal is so discombobulated or stressed, or we're like running on fumes, or going from coffee in the morning to wine in the evening, which was me for so many years. It was like, how can I get through this last cup of coffee? And then like thinking about that glass of wine at night that I would grab on my way home, or not on my way home, but when I got home. And like just this constant go, go, go mode, the external starts to break down as well. And I know, I mean, obviously living in Scottsdale, it's very much kind of where people are at, and I'm going to meet them there.
Yes.
Absolutely. But I also know a lot of women who don't necessarily want to do surgeries or injections, or they want to do it a more natural way. And so that's where Tight Club came in. And so honestly, the biggest challenge right now where I'm stuck is I feel like there is so much that I offer that I'm confusing people. And even just talking through all this, I'm like, did they catch it? Do they know what I do?
Yes. No, I think it's I think it's so needed, and because it's from an internal beauty from within. It's beauty from a peace, and sometimes we want to patch the external, and it's really rooted in what's happening inside of us. So, and you have such a beautiful heart, and I'm so glad that you're doing that. But I don't think that it's confusing. I think that sometimes it's our messaging, right? Maybe it's just, I know what you're doing, so it makes sense to me.
I know you do. And when I meet someone, and this is the thing about social, like with Instagram and stuff, I'm like, I know somebody else could probably run that better for me, but how do I pack all of what I do into a very concise and clear message? And I think that's where I'm stuck right now, because oftentimes women come to me for the aesthetic piece, and then I kind of blow their mind wide open and be like, wait, that's connected to my hormones or what's going on the inside? I'm like, yeah. And so it's like, it's an awareness. And it honestly, as I'm talking through it, it goes back to education. And that was my biggest role as a chiropractor, is helping somebody understand how their body actually worked. And not just, hey doc, my low back hurts. Well, yeah, I know, but do you know why? And so finding myself going back to that education piece, which I always said I'm a lifelong student and I want to be
Yes.
helping.
And you're so good at it. You're so natural. You have these holy hands and you touch and you have a gift for sure. So I am sure that along the way you will figure it out. And I know that, I think the biggest thing as I'm listening to you, we all have struggles. And when I listen to you, I think of, wow, the wealth of knowledge that you have. And yet this piece, which would be considered maybe the marketing piece or the story behind and the social media content, things like that, is such an easy thing for other people.
Mm-hmm.
And so how we all have our struggles because we're not masters at everything. We have you have a craft that you can master, and yet it's okay to ask for help. Isn't it great?
It is so good.
That. I know I think just asking for help is the biggest thing. I think sometimes we get stuck in our circles of it's the cycle. We're just circling like, why don't I see the ability to be able to do the thing? I know what I want, but how do I get there? And so the beauty of community, the beauty of podcasting, the beauty of amazing friends like you. I love having the ability to just share and talk, because I think we all have stories to share, but also like in our struggle, right? It's like, oh, hey, I have the person for you. Yes. Like I do. Like I'm just thinking of somebody I'm going to connect you with.
I can't wait to hear.
And so, I hope that whoever is listening or anyone out there that is really struggling with that, maybe exterior second guessing their beauty, maybe interior you feel like you're stuck, you feel like you don't feel good, you feel like there's something more, we're definitely going to connect you with we'll have to share where we can find you, but just knowing that life has its seasons, and it's okay if you went to chiropractic school, had a whole practice, and there was something calling you to do something else, right? There was a tug and you were obedient and you did it. And you've just evolved from there, and how you're helping so many people now. And it's beautiful because now you get to help them in a different way, but you're still Dr. Patti.
I sure am. And I still refer people to chiropractors all the time, and I still get adjusted weekly. So it hasn't left me.
Yeah.
I still see the value in it. And,
absolutely.
And I also I still refer to so much that I learned in that phase of life.
Oh, I'm
it's
sure.
It's like building blocks, right?
Absolutely.
So I wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't have that.
So beautiful. Well, thank you for being here today. It's been a pleasure. So our listeners can find you.
Yes.
Where can our listeners find you?
There's 2 places on social. So you can go to Dr. Patti Gonzalez with a Z at the end, and Innate Roots. Nope, not Innate Roots. That's still being built in process. But you can go to Tight Club, which is thetight.club.
Okay, so at thetight.club, and we'll link it all together so that we can find you. But thank you so much. It's been awesome.
Thank you for leaning into your gifts. I just want to encourage you along the way, that you have so many superpowers and so many people need what you have. So keep going. It's been incredible to watch your journey.
Thank you. That means the world. Thank you for joining me on another episode. If you enjoyed today's tea, make sure to follow, rate, and leave a review. Stay connected with us on social media at The Tea with Martha for updates and behind-the-scenes moments. Remember, every woman's story is a sip of inspiration, and together we're brewing success. This is Martha signing off. Cheers!